Back in 1930s Germany, there was this angry little Austrian fellow with a silly little moustache who eventually got into power. And one of the reasons he managed to be Chancellor of Germany was because he demonized a demographic of German society. And he was so successful at this that he managed to get his own citizens to turn against these people. And what happened to them at the end was unspeakable. Now, never in my lifetime did I ever thought I would see anything like that happen. Of course, I was born in the late 70s, and World War II was more than 30 years before my time. But I was taught enough about it, and along with movies and books, magazines, etc., that boys my age, my generation, became well versed and understood why it all happened. Now, we have two other little idiots in charge of two other countries in the world today in 2022, and they're heading in the same direction as the angry little Austrian with the silly little moustache. Of course, I'm talking about left-wing extremist manlet Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, and the other is Emmanuel Macron, the little manlet who's running his own country, France, into buggery. Now, these two have gone on media round about the same time and spewed off the same rhetoric. It's divisive rhetoric, it's dangerous rhetoric, and just by uttering what they did, it just goes to prove that they've not learned from history, or that they know full well what they're doing, and they really want history to repeat itself. Now, these two, it seems, have a burning hatred for a certain demographic, and this demographic are the vaccine-hesitant people who have not been vaccinated against the plague. And what they say should scare you to the core. It scares me because it has echoes of that angry little Austrian with a silly little moustache back in 1930s Germany, who did exactly the same thing. He divided people and he turned people against each other as a means to an end. Now, what Macron said was this. He just called France's 5 million unvaccinated citizens non-citizens, and he stated, "I really want to piss them off, and so we will continue to do so to the bitter end. That's the strategy." Now, I wonder, what the hell is the bitter end? Why would he want to piss off 5 million of his own citizens? Now, this kind of speech is insane, and it should ring alarm bells within every civilized, democratic, free society in the West and elsewhere, that a democratically elected world leader would say such a thing. And quite frankly, I am surprised that the French yellow vests and others in France who would protest and riot at the drop of a hat have done nothing about it. Because if anything said by a world leader should rile up his own citizens, then this is it. It doesn't get any bolder than this, folks. Or does it? Now let's go on to Justin Trudeau. Now, if you don't know who Justin Trudeau is, he is the Prime Minister of Canada, and he is as snowflakey soy wet noodle as they come. A proper left-wing socialist, limp-wristed, soaking wet fop, if ever there was one. And his statement, in comparison to Emmanuel Macron's, is worse. This is what he said. And he said this on television. "We are going to end this pandemic by proceeding with the vaccination. There is still a part of the population fiercely against it. They don't believe in science or progress and are very often misogynistic and racist. Oh my God. They take up some space. This leads us as a leader and as a country to make a choice. Do we tolerate these people?" Now, in my opinion, that statement is far worse than what Macron said, because he is suggesting not only the removal of someone's citizenship because of their refusal to take a medical procedure, but worse, to remove them in some other way entirely, and that is far more sinister. They take up space, he says. So what happens to the unvaccinated person in that space in Canada should they continue to want to be unvaccinated? How are they removed? Where are they removed to? Do you pack them off and declare them refugees? Or something worse? But it's the last bit of this statement that should shake you to the core. It certainly does to me. He says, and I quote, "Do we tolerate these people?" Now, if you ask me, that mirrors one of Hitler's many speeches that he made when he turned German citizens against his own Jewish population. Because if you can't tolerate them, and if you don't want to tolerate them, then what do you do with them? This speech was insane. It was far more insane than Macron's speech, and it suggests something far more sinister. Because by saying these speeches, these two left-wing idiots are indeed trying to turn their own citizens against each other, and it seems to suggest a systematic removal of citizens who will not comply with a medical procedure. That's what it looks like to me, folks, and it scares me. And I do fear for the unvaccinated in Canada and France with these two lunatics at the helm. And I certainly hope, for the sake of citizens in both countries, that these two genocidal maniacs are voted out or removed and brought to account. This is absolutely no way to talk about your own people, and people who support them ought to go and read a few history books and look themselves in the mirror. This is very, very wrong, and we simply can't just stand aside and allow another genocide to happen at the hands of some left-wing socialist ideologues. And it seems to me, looking at these two idiots during their times in office, that the only difference they had with Adolf Hitler is that even though he had one bollock apparently, he still had more balls than these two combined. Anyway, that's my video. Please let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like what I do, if you wish to support my channel, then by all means you can buy me a beer. The link is down below. And also, if you wish, you may join me on GETTR or GETTR. It's a social media app. It's like Twitter, but you're allowed to say what you like on there. And the platform is growing in popularity. Also, there are other favourite YouTubers on there, so I hope to see you there. Anyway, that's that. So please, until my next video, comment, share, subscribe, and Roger Trout.